Hey, what's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken, and welcome back to another video. Today, I want to talk about Saati, who is one of the damage characters of all time. When it comes to her viability in the meta, she's kind of in the middle of the pack. She can sometimes pack a punch and can be very annoying to fight, especially with certain playstyles, but she's also not an all-star DPS, and she's also very, very, very gimmicky. Saati also has a few pain points, both when it comes to playing against her and also when it comes to playing as her, and she has a few things that have really bugged me for quite a while now, so I want to talk about them, and I want to discuss what can be done to help this character kind of reach a more healthy spot in terms of having better playstyle diversity and being more fun to play as and to play against. So first of all, let's talk about her cards, and the fact that they suck. I don't think there's a single character in the game that has more low-scaling cards than Saati. A lot of these options are simply just not fun, not good to use in any way, shape, or form, and the cards that are good on Saati are just flat-out boring, like the ammo card or the health card, or they lead to playstyles that are, well, less than savory, like Steady Predictions and Step Off. I mean, come on, what is the point of this card? Paper design. Decrease the time between bursts of dead ringers in-hand fire by 20%. That's this thing.
That worked?
Wow! Whoa! Oh! Yo! That's so crazy! That's so good! Oh my gosh! Yeah, wow, it killed that stationary Ying dummy in, like, 10 seconds flat. I don't remember the last time I've seen anyone get hit by this thing. I mean, maybe if they just happen to be unlucky, they'll be grazed by, like, one bullet. But, like, there's genuinely no point to this thing even shooting in the first place, and there is even less of a point of this card, which decreases the time between bursts by 20%, so you can do no damage even quicker. Not to mention Hide. Very, very sad card. At level 5, you don't even get 3/4 of a second of increased invisibility. Like, that's so tiny. Why does this card scale so poorly? At one point, I suppose it had to be nerfed, because, I don't know, Improvise was OP or something, but I mean, come on. I never see anyone use this card anymore. And it's because it scales so poorly. Level 4, you get half a second of increased duration. I mean, can we not at least make it 1 second at level 5? Especially because, nowadays, well, invisibility, Illuminate, is passive. Everyone has passive Illuminate. So if you just get reasonably within, like, this distance to Saati, you'll be able to see her even though she's invis. And so it makes the invisibility a lot less reliable, I would say. So why not allow her the card to at least be a little bit more impactful? I mean, I really don't understand why we're limiting ourselves here. Or how about this one? Costly Physics. Increase the duration that Ricochet can remain airborne when deployed by 1.5 seconds. So the scaling only gives us 1.5 seconds of increased duration. And then it doesn't even change the amount of shots it can take. If you could take, like, one extra shot at level 5, that would be neat. But this card is completely pointless if you're playing a coin-based playstyle, because the point is to just spam the coin. You don't need that extra duration. Like, okay, if I've stopped shooting that coin for that long, I probably don't need to shoot it again. It just doesn't make sense. And proportionally, it's not even that high of an increased duration. I mean, if we just take this card out of the build, and then put in Steady Predictions, and then just flick it up again. Oh, let's look at how long this card lasts, or this coin lasts. I mean, what is the point of an extra 1.5 seconds of duration? Level 5 loadout card? That doesn't even increase the amount of health the coin has? Like, This card is completely pointless as well. And then I also have to take issue with many of her other, seemingly a little bit more generic and slightly more useful cards. For example, Plated Leggings. This card, at level 5, gives you a whopping, massive, just insane 15% damage reduction for 1.5 seconds. Like, both the duration and the damage reduction are puny. They're so small if you compare them to almost any other damage reduction card in the game. And she has a second one, Steel Coin Purse. Exact same damage reduction, but at least the duration is increased by 1 second. So that's cool. And yeah, also the duration is increased, by the way, when you activate this card using an ability that's easier to spam. So It almost seems like they got the duration flip-flop. Like, it'd probably make more sense for Steel Coin Purse to have the slower duration, because it's more of a cost to use Blast Back, but I don't know, we're working with Saati logic here. Closing Time is probably one of the only cards of hers that actually kind of makes sense in terms of its scaling and duration. Personally, just to make things satisfying, I'd make it last for 3 seconds, so you have 30% for 3 seconds. That would just be fun, it'd be satisfying. But yeah, at least this one's a little bit less egregious. And then there's also Sure Shot. 15% increased ultimate charge rate. That's pretty cool. I guess for the cost of 5 load-up points, I can get in between morale boost level 1 and level 2. But, this card is just better. Sorceress is just better. Why does Saris have 35%? And Saati has 15%? Shoot. Saris's card is better than morale boost level 3. That's pretty cool. But Saati, I guess, is limited to just 15%, because, I don't know. Honestly, this card just needs a flat-out rework, because there is literally zero reason to use it. It's not like a barrack turret, where it actually targets enemies. It literally just shoots in a straight line, like that. And it barely even does damage, so there's basically no point to it in the first place. Instead, what I would maybe do is have it so that it applies some effect when the decoy hits somebody. Like, let's say, I don't know, you get some sort of heal or movement speed buff or something like that, and then have it so that it doesn't just apply to the in-hand fire, no. It also applies when you use Improvise, so there's more of a reason to use this talent, because I do find that it is her least used talent, at least in my experience. So, yeah, there would be a little bit more of a reason to use this. Improvise would then be a talent that would allow you to do a burst of damage, kind of set up a bomb pile so if someone dives you, they take damage, reveal you, and then if you choose to use this card, you could also potentially, I don't know, heal for a burst of 650 every time you hit somebody with it. Because, yeah, it does 650 damage. So, yeah, heal for 650. That would be cool. That would scale high, still get affected by Cauterize. It would be a much better option than the current card. So yeah, because most of her cards scale so poorly, you end up with a lot of builds that look somewhat like this, where you run the health card and the ammo card, because both of them scale well and actually have a consistent impact on your gameplay. And then you run some fillers. I like to run Aggressive Tip because it also scales pretty well. One of the only fair and balanced cards I'd say she has. And, yeah, also Grab and Go, another card that scales well as a filler, and then maybe some Step Off if you want, or something like that. And that's like 90% of Saati builds. And maybe, if you're feeling a little bit zany, you run Closing Time. Which, that could be fun to run as well. But if you want to spice things up, and I suppose accentuate your playstyle a little bit, then there are 2 cards that you can play, and both of them also lead to problems. Let's start with the most egregious one. I am, of course, talking about Steady Predictions. Generate 4% ultimate charge after Ricochet hits an enemy. This card leads to Saati players, well, doing this.
Leaving so soon.
Pew! Pew! I forgot you can't full auto that. Pew! And then, ping, 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 ping. Let me just sit back here and ping, 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 ping. Ping, and then, pow! Oh, the ultimate can hit Ying all the way over there, but can't hit the coin as well. That's another just problem that really limits that tech. But then you do it again, ping, 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 and you get the point. This entire heads or tails playstyle is just one of the most unhealthy playstyles in the entire game. And before you go commenting down below, yes, I know, they nerfed it, and it's also not even her meta playstyle anymore, but that doesn't matter, because all it takes for them is to buff one little thing about it, and then all of a sudden it's back to being spammed everywhere, and it's inherently an awful game design. I mean, I don't know how anyone can look at this and think it's riveting gameplay. Like, come on. Okay, we do that, and then we do this. But there we go. Just perfectly safe behind the wall. Until someone dives me, and then I die because I'm playing this playstyle. Or I somehow make it behind another wall and then do this again. Meanwhile, all the enemies are facing is just an indestructible coin that is constantly dealing damage to them. And it's frustrating because it's very consistent damage that will eventually kill you if you let it. But it can also be healed back up, so the Saati player is not even really being that effective because it's low single target damage, and it doesn't apply Cauterize. So, it's so frustrating and annoying and bad. on so many different fronts. And this card enables this playstyle to be a lot more effective than it should be. Because you shouldn't be that effective just sitting back here spamming coins. But yet, when you're rewarded with this much ultimate charge, why not sit back here and do all this damage completely behind cover and just get the highest damage number in the lobby and also not really contribute that much to kills because you don't apply Cauterize with any of it. And also struggle to get kills because this just does more single target damage. It's just an unhealthy playstyle through and through. And it's probably the #1 thing that needs to be changed on Saati because it's just ridiculous. But we'll get back to how to fix the coin playstyle and also the coin in general a little bit later. The next thing I want to talk about is this. Whee! The Saati Space Program. Now, I might get a little bit more heat for this one, because I know the coin playstyle is uncontroversially toxic. But this playstyle, I understand why Saati players enjoy it. Because it's fun to watch people go to space. It really, truly is. And even I have to admit, yeah, it's kind of funny. But I find that the playstyle is one of the least fun things to play against in the entire game. Because if you are the enemy, what this knock-up does is it doesn't function like a normal knockback does. It pretty much completely halts your horizontal mobility, and it also in a weird way works like a pseudo-cripple, where some movement abilities will get interrupted by it because it's a knock-up. It's effectively Buck's Bounce House, but if it could send people into the stratosphere, and you know how Buck's Bounce House is able to stop enemy movement abilities in their tracks. So, because it just sends you up into the sky like this, stops your movement abilities, you're basically a sitting duck, and it feels like there's very little counterplay. Sentinel exists, and it will reduce the effect of the knockback and the knockup, because that's what it does. But it's more expensive than Unbound. It feels like you're going out of your way to purchase this. And also, if you do buy it in lieu of Unbound, then potentially other crowd control effects on Saati's team that are more powerful will end up countering you more. And then you have to go buy both items, and it's just a mess. And honestly, I think part of this could be mitigated, not by touching Saati, but actually by buffing Sentinel. I've been thinking now for a while that Sentinel deserves a price decrease to make it basically on par with Unbound. Because even though it applies 2 effects, and thus is quote-unquote more valuable, it's actually not more valuable, because it's rarer that you want to buy Sentinel for knockups and knockbacks, because not every knockback is worth mitigating with Sentinel. And also I find that the shield is simply kind of small, and not worth justifying the price. Because it's basically like old Kill to Heal, which was 200 credits and 600 health, uncauterized, except this health is temporary, scales less, so it's only 450 health, and it's countered by Wrecker. Of course, it can also be buffed by Guardian, but a 45% increase to a number this small isn't really that much, and you also have to buy another, even more expensive item just to bring the amount of health you get from Sentinel on par with Kill to Heal. And again, it's temporary. So I think that Sentinel being buffed would actually be a way to help mitigate this playstyle, without necessarily touching the core elements that do make it fun for a Saati player. Which, yeah, I mean, that is kind of cool. And yeah, of course, the way you do make the space program work is by running Step Off at level 5, which is one of her only other effective and also interesting cards, because it increases the distance of the knockback by 50%. So, but also, on the flip side, I can also find this card to be a little bit annoying to play as the Saati player, because of exactly what you're seeing right there, where sometimes you just send them too high. And so you actually might want a lower level of blast back, and I know a lot of Saati players do also run the card slightly lower, because yeah, this is a bit extreme, even if it is fun, and also not fun to play against. So this card is definitely less egregious, and could be fixed, honestly, by better item balance, I think. Because if the enemies had cheaper Sentinel, yeah, it would counter Saati a little bit more, and you know, that would make this knockback much less effective. It would look more like this. But that would still cause Saati to force the enemies to go out of their way to buy a specific item to counter her that's not likely to counter any of her other teammates, takes up an item slot. There's still inherent value in that for Saati, and so I don't think it would end up being a problem for her. So as I already mentioned, the way that the base coin works, by just flicking up and letting you shoot it, plus the combination of heads or tails and the ultimate generation card, makes this a ridiculously unhealthy playstyle for the game, because you'll have a Saati player sitting in the back, behind a wall, spamming this. And it's just annoying to play against, it's also a boring playstyle, it's unhealthy in every sense of the word for everyone involved. But Saati's gimmick, or one of her main gimmicks rather, is cover denial. She is meant to be a character with the best cover denial in the game. And so that's what the coin was originally designed for. Being able to flick it and hit people past a wall. So what I want to attempt to do is propose a solution that fixes the toxicity of this playstyle, while also allowing Saati to have good cover denial, because she should have good cover denial. Her ultimate is all about cover denial. That's kind of the purpose of this character. And that's also why these abilities intrinsically don't do that much damage. So, let me run this idea by you, and of course, please tell me what you think about it in the comment section. I would love to hear what you think about it, and also if you have possibly a better solution for the coin. But what I would like to see, to make Saati's gameplay more fluid, and to make the coin potentially more effective at cover denial, and also more fair to play against, is to make it so that you only shoot it once. It effectively would work very similar to a more skillful fire spit, but one that is much more accessible and convenient for the Saati player. So the idea is, flick, shoot, and that does 1 ricochet for 600 damage. And that's it. That's the coin. Now, that might seem worse than this coin at face value. And yes, it is. For the Saati players who want to sit here doing this and be absolutely boring, right? But hypothetically, the coin is meant to finish people off when they run away, scurry away behind cover. So if you had one big burst of damage that did 600, you'd be much more likely to finish them off than if you had to shoot and then shoot again and then shoot again to get that 600 damage. Or in the case of the base coin, shoot and then shoot again, so it would be faster, right? And also, because you only shoot one shot, it means that you wouldn't be able to sit in the back just constantly doing this. You'd actually have to, I don't know, play the game? And maybe shoot them like this? So, it would fix that playstyle, completely nip it in the bud. And it would still be pretty good from the standpoint of, as an enemy, you now only have one big burst to worry about. And you just have to accept that that's Saati's gimmick, and that, yeah, you know, I guess be a bit more careful with your positioning, right? And, yeah, it would be far less annoying to fight against, because you wouldn't just be taking all of this free damage that's really just a nuisance. And also, I mean, geez, come on. You wouldn't have to hear this anymore. It's also a very annoying sound effect, might I add. And so, yeah, you'd still be able to flick multiple coins like this and potentially do big numbers and hit people behind cover like that, but it would cost a lot more pips. As a trade-off, since it is only one shot now and it doesn't explode anymore, you might also be able to nerf the cost of the pips to make it just 1 pip. I could see that being reasonable, because 2 pips for one shot that does 600 damage might be a little expensive, but at the same time you are using it for the value of actually getting that 600 burst behind cover in the first place, which would almost make it, in a sense, like a miniature one of these, right? So that is a balanced suggestion that would be open and would be a possibility, but I think it would make Saati much more fun, much more fluid for everyone involved. Because, yeah, you could just do, flick coin, boom, finish, like that. Instead of completely interrupting the flow of your gameplay to just start shooting this thing instead. I just think it would be more fun. But some of the astute Saati players might notice that by reworking the coin in this manner, I'm actually removing some tech from Saati. Very, very rarely used tech, and that's this. You can flick the coin, and you can shoot it. And it'll automatically explode, and you can do it again, and you already just saw the problem with that. I don't know why, but they made this tech ridiculously hard to pull off. Because for some reason... Yeah, look at how far away I was aiming from Ying and Victor, and it hit them. But look at how close I was to the coin, and I missed the coin. For some reason, it is ridiculously hard to hit the coin with the ultimate. It's very unintuitive, and it makes the tech very useless. If they didn't want to rework the coin, then at the very least I would suggest making this tech more reliable. Because the idea is you can get multiple coins like that, shoot like this, and look at that burst of damage. It's very impressive. And that's pretty cool if you can set it up. And again, it doesn't apply cauterize, there's a long setup to it. You're potentially putting yourself in danger by setting it up, and not actively shooting the enemies while you're doing it. But, yeah, it can be very rewarding. And very cool. And if the enemies don't buy Arcane Warding, then they'll take a lot of damage from it, but they can also counterplay it just by buying this. So it is a cool tech. My coin rework suggestion would remove that. I think that there are very few people who would miss it if it did get removed, and I think if the coin doesn't get reworked in the way I'm suggesting, then I think they should at least look into maybe making that tech a little bit more reliable. And also fix this. Hold on, fix this. Yeah, there we go. Where you shoot the coin and then it just translocates up here for some reason. Like, what the heck? That's not where the coin was. Why do they keep putting it up here? It actually makes it harder to pull off the tech as well. Because you shoot the coin, and then it goes up there, making it harder to actually hit the shot. Like, that second shot just missed the victor because I was trying to aim at both the coins. So, if you were actually able to flick a coin low to the ground, shoot it, and then have it be horizontal with the enemies, the tech would also, again, be easier to pull off. So, that's just a bit of a tech inconsistency with the coin that, again, doesn't really matter that much if you rework the coin in the way I suggested, but if you are going to keep the coin and want to keep the ultimate tech involved with that whole synergy, that's another thing that needs to be fixed. So let's summarize everything we've talked about in this video. I think that Saati has some of the worst card design in the game because a lot of her cards are either completely useless or don't scale high enough to be viable, and that really limits her ability to create interesting builds and leads to a lot of the builds looking exactly the same and being relatively boring, apart from the introduction of two cards that both have their own problems because, especially in the case of setting predictions, they can create very toxic and unfun to play against playstyles. I think that this is stupid and should die. Coins are dumb, and especially the Heads or Tails talent is stupid and dumb and should go away. I get that it's nerfed, and it's not even the meta playstyle for her anymore, but that doesn't change the fact that it's an unhealthy playstyle. Some people do still play it, and it should just be removed from the game because, simply put, it is bad game design through and through for everyone involved. The Saati player, her teammates, and the enemies. It's just dumb. I would rework the coin by making it a single shot. You shoot it once, it does 600 damage, coin disappears, you move on. This would make the flow of playing Saati much more fluid, which is good because fluidity is one of the best strengths of Paladins gameplay, and it would also be more fun to play against as the enemies because you don't have the Saati player doing this. And it would be more fun for the Saati player too. It would just be better for everyone involved, and it would potentially also lead to her having more consistency when killing a target behind a wall because you don't have to shoot the coin more times. So I think it would just be a better way for the coin to work through and through, and it would harken back to the idea of it being a skill shot in the first place. It's not much of a skill shot to shoot a stationary target, but it is a skill shot to hit a moving target like that. And so it would flow a bit better with the theme of the character as well. And finally, this is really annoying to play against, and I don't like it at all. But I wouldn't actually take the nerf hammer to it. Instead, what I would do is I would buff Sentinel, because I think that Sentinel being buffed would be good just for the health of the game in general. I think the item is too expensive for what it does, and having it on par with Unbound would make it a lot more savory, because oftentimes you feel like you're having to go out of your way to buy Sentinel for someone like Saati, and then having it be more expensive just makes it feel bad. So having this be a cheaper option would help it be a lot more of a savory choice, and as such, Saati would be forcing the enemies to buy an item, fill up one of their item slots, and this playstyle would be less annoying to go against for those of us who do get really annoyed by being sent into the stratosphere. But yeah, again, I wouldn't necessarily take the nerf hammer to it because I understand that it is fun to see people go to space. Even I derive some pleasure from it, so yeah, it gets a pass. So yeah, let me know what you think about all of this in the comments section down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have your own thoughts and opinions and suggestions for Saati? I would love to hear all of it. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.